Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to go away from the politics stuff and focus on some streamer drama. The first video we'll be reacting to is by Emiru, and her link will be in the description, and then her ex-boyfriend Mizkif also reacted, and I will have that link in the description as well. So if you're all about those raw, honest reactions, you found the right place. I'm Indigo Moon, and here we dive into everything from the latest reaction videos and social commentary to breaking news events and so much more. You never know what's coming next, just know it's gonna be real, fun, and full of surprises. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel if you enjoy this type of content. All right, let's get started. All right, guys, so the first video we're gonna be reacting to is Emiru's video. I will have the link in the description. Just to give a little backstory, Emiru is a Twitch streamer. She joined One True King's OTK back in 2021. Her ex-boyfriend Miz is also a Twitch streamer, and he is the co-owner and co-founder of OTK. And she'll go on here to explain how they had a secret relationship for a few years and some of the issues and toxicity that occurred in their relationship.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing. For the entirety of this year, I have attempted to separate myself from him and not talk about him at all, and not talk about this issue and just not make it a public thing. I always tried my best to keep this to myself, but like I said, I feel like it's gone to the point, which I'll explain later, that I feel like it just has to be done. And I have always believed in not condemning people or starting drama online. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking, why am I doing this and why now? And I would like to explain that before I get started so that people understand what prompted me to do this today, and that it's not just on a whim or something like that. Okay, so like I said, I took a lot of notes, so forgive me if I just end up reading off my notes. The first and probably most severe reason is that one of the rules that I set for myself a long time ago about withholding this information was that if I ever felt like somebody else was in danger of being hurt, I would then make myself speak about it. And 2 weeks ago, actually 3 weeks ago now, I was informed by 3 separate people, one of whom was present for said incident, that he had done something similar to something that he had done to me, and to someone in LA at the end of September. And this person is not a streamer or content creator, but obviously that does not matter. And because of this, I cannot in good conscience sit here knowing that I know critical information about someone that almost no one else does and not say anything. I think that most issues and dramas should stay private and off the internet, and I still hold that belief to this day, and I will hold that belief going forward. However, there are certain things that cross the line, and I say that the line has been crossed too many times to be count. There's a point where I believe that people deserve to know. I think that at a certain point, if you know a lot of things about someone and you don't say anything to look out for others, it's wrong. It's wrong to keep it to yourself. I don't want what happened to me or what has happened to other people because of him to happen to other people. And I don't believe he will ever stop behaving the way he does. But regardless, yeah, like I said, one of the main reasons I decided to do this stream is to come out about all of this, because I can't hold on to it any longer, because it feels wrong to do so. And an honorable mention reason for why I'm doing this is that for a while, he has been indirectly threatening me through my friends and people that I work with. They've informed me that he said that if I ever talked about anything he did, he would try to create a smear campaign against me in retaliation. I was told that he even approached other streamers who were close with us back when we lived together, asking them if they would join with him, and they all refused. At TwitchCon, he approached one of—
That is so awful, and you know, I believe her to an extent because this is not the first time that someone has come out saying that Mizkif threatened them if they didn't keep something secret, right? The biggest one was that controversy that he threatened this small streamer that if she said anything, they were going to ruin her career. And she took that threat very seriously, seeing that he's not only one of the biggest Twitch streamers, he's also the owner and founder of the biggest org on Twitch. So using that kind of power is so disgusting. And I'm glad that his ex is coming out and talking about it, because others have, and they were just not really big enough to do anything.
One of my employees threatening them and saying if I ever talked about him, he would destroy me. Multiple people have told me that his plan was to claim that I kill animals and that I killed my own rabbits, since I had several of my rabbits pass away over the course of 3 years while I lived with him. I'm sure he's probably listening now, and it's probably going to come as quite a shock to him that this information made its way back to me and that I've known for months. But if you try to threaten me to stay quiet, especially using my poor dead animals, I'm not going to stay quiet. Okay.
Dude, that's absolutely wild that he was gonna go and talk about her animals like that. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, he uses that threat of his influence and power to basically control a narrative. And I'm glad that she has found the courage to say something and speak up. And I think a lot of this is stemming from just the last few weeks of her life. If you follow her or follow any bit of Twitch drama, a couple weeks ago, she was required to go to TwitchCon, and she was talking with some other female streamers about how she didn't want to go, but she was being obligated by Twitch to go. They were threatening a show of hers that she has, some kind of deal that she has with Twitch, right? And they threatened her show if she didn't go. So she goes, but they didn't allow her to bring her typical security guards. They provided their own. And while she was doing her meet and greet, a crazy stalker came out of the crowd and tried to kiss her. And no one stopped it. No security, no nothing. It was somebody on her team that finally came running over and shooed the guy away. When they tried to talk to Twitch about it, they didn't even want to have anything to do with it. They let the man go and everything. Her manager's the one that had to push for Twitch to actually do something about this and file criminal charges. And it's the only reason why something is being done. Emiru is a person that is quite introverted, doesn't like to start drama and have problems and things like that, right? She really tries to stay out of drama and controversy. Constantly being in this situation because of these crazy stalkers and because of her passiveness, people walk all over her who are also the people who are supposed to be protecting her, and they make tons of money off of her. So you would think they'd want to keep her protected, and they don't. And I think a person can only take so much of that before they snap, and I think this is her snapping, and that's a good thing. She needs to find her voice and speak up for herself, because nobody else will. And luckily she has a good management team and supportive friends, it seems like, especially on the internet. So that all helps to find your courage, but it's still a very difficult thing to be putting out there because it's also her own personal experience, her own life.
I moved in with him, I believe it was the end of 2021, because he offered. I was living alone at the time, and I was having stalker issues in Kansas, and I mean, you guys know like all the stuff that happened there. I ended up joining the org and everything. We did a lot of streams together. And I mean, a lot of people already know this, but I'm just gonna come out and say it. We started dating. We were in a relationship starting January 2022 after I joined OTK. I'm not planning to go into too much detail about the start of the relationship because it honestly doesn't really matter at this point. It's irrelevant now. The only things that really matter that you guys need to know for the story are that it was, one, an extremely private relationship. It was even hidden from friends and people in the org, but I mean, obviously people all eventually figured it out. They're not fucking stupid. And second, it was an extremely codependent relationship, which it's not the issue, but that's just, you know, making that clear for details. He initially portrayed himself to me as someone who was very nice to girls and wanted to help me feel safe from stalkers and wanted me to succeed as a teammate, and we grew very close over time, and I was very dependent on him for feelings of safety, social life, like my stream, my job, everything. So yeah, besides it being a very codependent relationship, the start of it was fine. I saw a lot of people mentioning this. They thought this was what I was going to talk about. It's not a secret. I think everyone who paid attention knew that he was very controlling over what I wore, to a degree, who I was friends with, and even when I would stream.
If you're a person who has been following these two, it is no surprise that he was controlling. I can think of one particular incident that became quite big on the internet some years ago. She was doing a stream and she's sitting there with her Kirby's and she's wearing her pajamas, and she's wearing pajama pants, mind you. And the way she's sitting is either like Indian style or cross-legged, and then she has like a bottle of something, like some kind of liquor, I think, between her legs. And she's just talking with her chat, having a good time. And she looks over at her phone and you can see her face just instantly changed. Like her face dropped. You could tell she was upset. And she excuses herself, leaves her room, and it's a while, like a good 30 minutes, she comes back into the room, and you can tell that she's been crying, that she's upset. You can see it in her eyes are all red and puffy, but she's trying her best to not convey that she is upset in any kind of way. And the inner news sleuths, doing what they do, ended up finding the messages that he was sending to her. And the way he spoke to her, telling her that she's a hoe and a slut for the way that she was dressing in her pajamas and sitting provocatively, and that's why she has problems with stalkers, and just really victim blaming her and shaming her for nothing. So I do wholeheartedly believe that this was a constant problem between the two of them, because that's just one instance that was caught by the internet. How many more are out there? And it definitely starts showing the signs of somebody that can be manipulative or abusive.
When it was definitely slow over time that bad things started happening. At the start, it would be things like, for example, he would throw bottles, like plastic bottles of liquid in it, not like glass bottles, at me, despite me telling him like I didn't like it and it scared me and I bruise very easily. He would throw his phone at me. I would tell him, you know, it scared me, I don't like it. And one time it even hit me in the eye, which caused me to get a black eye, but he always, you know, was like, oh, it's an accident. And I was like, oh yeah, it's an accident. Like, you know, of course I'm not gonna think that, you know, he's, yeah, I just, at the time, I just kind of was, you know, I just brushed it off. And looking back now, I feel like that was kind of the start of him testing my boundaries, if that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense. And I can see where and why she was coming to this conclusion. And I've been in an abusive relationship with a diagnosed sociopath, and I can tell you that abuse doesn't go from 0 to 100 overnight. Abuse starts in very small trickles, and are just trying to rationalize some of these as just maybe some bad behaviors or bad habits they've picked up, and you start making these excuses, and that's what they want you to do. They want you to start excusing small little bad behaviors, so when the really big bad ones come up, you have already trained your brain to just accept that. So I completely understand where she's coming from, and I'm speaking not just from experience. I also have a BA in sociology and psychology, so I can also speak from the psychological standpoint that is what they are doing. But in her situation, that is definitely very scary to deal with somebody like this, who she does actually go over it a little bit, but Ms. was going through a mental health crisis at the time, and that is definitely not an excuse for this type of behavior, but it gives us an understanding and a look into why he might have been doing things like throwing stuff and throwing his phone. Like, it's so childish to even act like that. First and foremost, this is a man who is now 30 years old. So at the time, we're talking late 20s. You definitely know how to behave, and that is definitely unexcusable behavior and very childish. But I can see how that is terrifying for her, because this is a girl that psychologically is always living in fear of men because of all her stalker issues. And like she said, he approached her as somebody that was caring and supportive of women and a protector of women. So now this protector is acting out abusively. It can be hard to rectify. It can be hard to see. At best case scenario, this was a cry for help in his mental health crisis. At worst case scenario, this is a man that's definitely starting to exhibit signs of abuse.
So that was already kind of starting to show signs within the first 6 months of me and him being close. And then, again, a very public situation. The end of 2022, the cover-up allegations happened. I mean, yeah, like I said, all that's public. You can find all that, see like what I said during that, everything. After that happened, his behavior started getting a lot worse, which, I mean, I suppose it makes sense. You know, he was very stressed. A lot of stuff was happening, but the bad behavior was ramping up, and I feel like it's so apparent if, like, you know, you go back and watch anything from that time. I tried so hard to help him and be there for him because I really believed in him, and I wanted him to, you know, get better and get back on his feet and be the person that, you know, I always believed that he was. But that unfortunately did not really happen. For a long time, I think about 1.5 years from when that all happened, it was kind of like slow things getting worse. But I mean, honestly, I'm not even gonna bother going into the details of all of that because there's just too much to cover, and it's honestly kind of not really relevant to the rest of what I'm saying because the rest of what I want to say is a lot worse. There was a point where things really took a turn for the worst. Like, it felt like, you know, like a very delicate branch just kind of snapped. So, and again, a lot of people are like vaguely aware of this, but I'll explain it for people who aren't, you know, chronically tapped into all that stuff. So for a long time after the like cover-up allegations happened and he was like starting to kind of struggle on his stream, he never wanted to stream at the same time as me. Like we really avoided it. And to me at the time it made sense because, you know, I was like, well, of course, like, you know, we share a lot of community members. If we're live at separate times, we're both gonna perform better, you know, it makes sense. But yeah, we were never really live doing the same thing at the same time for a long time, with the exception of like things like events or sponsors or like, you know, just special things. For a very long time, and a lot of you guys probably noticed that I would only usually stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That was because of him. And now I stream whenever I want, but the first time that we ever streamed at the same time was for the 2024 Rust Kingdoms event on Twitch. We were sharing drops, so it was the first time in a very long time that we were both going to be live at the same time doing the same thing, basically. I know you're probably like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? But it'll make sense in a bit. So I'm live, he's live, we're both streaming, and like I said, you can go find all of this. This is public. There are clips of this. We're both streaming the Rust event, and I thought it was going really well. I thought everyone was having fun. I was like, oh, this is great. Everyone's, you know, doing the same thing at the same time. We're all hanging out. You know, we're gonna have fun. Like, I was really, really excited. And then I start seeing in my chat people start saying, unofficial Ms. raid, and I'm like, what does that mean? And then I check my Discord messages, and he's messaging me. He's saying like, Emmy, you know, I'm gonna kill myself. I waited, or I'm gonna KMS. I waited so long for this, etc. And basically he was upset because I had higher viewership than him. That's literally it. I had higher viewership than him. And like I said, this is during an event, so there were drops. Like, everyone knows when there's drops, like, it's not even fucking real, but yeah.
That is like the life of streamers and dating as streamers. He actually got this baby butt hurt because she had more viewers on her stream than his stream. That's like absolutely absurd, because especially when you think about it, like, these two make viewership numbers that are insane on Twitch, like Mr. Beast type numbers on YouTube for Twitch, comparably, right? And this specific event that she's talking about, he was literally crying for 6 mil views. When we're talking that these two can pull in hundreds of thousands, especially a big stream like that, easily, and he's crying for 6 mil views. That just shows you that for him, his biggest priority was his streaming and his viewership and all of that. And this is where the complexities of this relationship really start to show. And she will explain that too, because there's a power dynamic between these two. He is her boss through OTK. Having this professional relationship with him, and then aside having a personal sexual relationship with him, it really starts to just blend in a very unhealthy and toxic way. He definitely took it to the extreme, and she goes into more of this bad behavior, but threatening to endgame yourself. It's like, what did you want her to do? You wanted her to just stop her stream so all her viewers go to you? How is that beneficial for either one of you as an org, right? He was so selfishly just thinking about himself and not even their organization or his girlfriend. This is why, you know, people in similar industries like shouldn't date. And I do empathize with people who are in some type of entertainment industry, because damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because you date somebody in the industry, well, this is a person that you're in constant competition with. So that's going to cause problems. But if you date a regular person, then you're bringing them into the crazy hecticness of the entertainment industry that they might not have been prepared for. If they don't handle that well, you're going to take that personal. So it's very complicated for these people dating.
He starts messaging me. He's really upset. I tried to tell him, I was like, bro, you should come back and play. Everyone's having fun. Everyone's like wondering where you are. But yeah, he ended his stream. And then I'm still live, you know, trying to act like nothing's wrong. And in that house, I had a glass door so I could like see this was happening. He was walking behind me, making sure that I knew he was there. And by the way, so there were many ways out of that house if he wanted to leave the house that were closer to his stream room. He intentionally chose the door that was right by my room. I feel like that's pretty apparent, at least to me. He starts walking behind my stream and slamming the door so loud that my noise gate can pick it up. So even people on my stream are able to hear this is happening. And he slams it so hard and so many times that the front door literally broke. The lock did not work anymore. It didn't work for months, and it would just make this horrible sound that I would have to hear like every fucking day. But anyway, so I hear him back there doing this, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I tell my stream, I'm like, hey, guys, I'll be right back. I get up and I go talk to him, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, Emmy, like, I hate all of you guys. Like, all you guys do is just take from me, and like, I'm just done. Like, I'm just done. And I was like, is this like really happening because of rush drops? And he was like, I don't know what else to do. He was like going off on me, like basically saying that he hated me. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do now. And he was like, go finish your stream so that people don't know anything's wrong. And I stop in the bathroom outside my stream room, and I'm like, you know, checking my makeup, trying to make sure people can't tell that I was like crying. And I'm only in there for like 30 seconds, and he comes and like looms in the doorway. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just checking my makeup. So I go back and I stream for a couple hours to finish the stream. Do my best to just like, you know, carry on the show basically.
And that's the shit right there. Just complete childish behavior. Like, you purposely went out a specific door knowing that she would see you pacing around back and forth, breaking her door. Like, that is just so emotionally immature. And I do empathize that he was going through a mental health crisis at the time. I really do. And I have dealt with my loved ones who are also going through their own similar mental health crisis. And believe me, a lot of these behaviors are very similar. The throwing the shit, punching the walls, getting upset over little things. And it's very hard to deal with as the loved one, because you want to be there and help them. Like she said, she felt so bad. He's sitting there telling her how he hates her, he hates this, and he's just going off. And as his girlfriend, she can't help but take that all personal. Even as a teammate or a coworker, to speak to the people below you like that already shows that you are not capable of being in a management position. And he no longer is in the org, but he still has such huge influence because he was the co-owner. Her having to go through that is a lot of emotional and psychological trauma that she was holding in. Obviously, just really bad situation for the both of them.
And yeah, after that, like I said, was when things started to get really fucking bad. It was like something just snapped. For the rest of the week, he streamed the Rust event. He got all the drop viewers. I'm sure he was very happy. I mean, good for him. And during that time, I obviously was like thinking and processing a lot of what happened. But I mean, it was a lot because this person was at the time like kind of it was like my partner and my best friend and like the only person that like I really talked to ever, or like at least off stream. So I mean, it was a lot. But the very next stream, I went live about a week after that, and I announced that I was planning to move because I knew that I would have to move. So I was like, okay, I have to go live and say this so that, you know, kind of force myself to commit to it, right? Does that make sense?
Definitely makes sense. I can tell you from experience working with DV victims and myself being a DV victim that saying it out loud that you have a plan to leave your abuser or your toxic ex does help make it more real, because saying it to other people now starts to hold you accountable for that action. So that's why it is encouraged that DV victims do speak their plans out loud, because that's just more verbal encouragement. You hear it out loud, you tell people, then you start to live it. And it's still a very difficult process. That doesn't mean saying it out loud the next day you're going to move out. She explains later on too, it took her months to finally move out from the time she spoke it out loud. So it's not a very easy situation. And luckily for her, she has the financial means and support to be able to make that kind of move. A lot of DV victims do not have that, so it makes it even more difficult for them to be able to leave and start over. So,
obviously, I didn't move out right away, but after like all of that rough stuff happened was when the other domestic abuse stuff really started. He would destroy furniture in front of me. He would throw things in front of me and near me. Destroy walls. Again, you can go see this in some of his VODs in his bedroom, the holes in the wall. There would be times where he was upset at me and I would go to my stream room and literally lock myself in to get away from him, and he would be banging on the door and screaming at me. And at the time, he also would more often do things like going, like if we were driving in the car together, he would be going like 150 miles an hour, and like one time he even said like, well, now we're both gonna die, like threatening to kill both of us. And this wasn't like even necessarily because of me or like because of something I did a lot of the time. Like one of the times that it happened, it was because we were just getting food and he was on his phone and he saw that Mr. Beast had put out a video, and Mr. Beast had invited another streamer, and he was like, oh, Mr. Beast invited this guy to his video, not me. And I was like, oh, well, you know, like, huh, yeah, I guess so. Which led to him going 150 miles per hour in the car and talking about killing himself while doing it.
these are all such good examples of the ramping up thing that I was talking about that happens with abusers or toxic people. See how it starts to escalate over time? Now she's talking about a period 6 months to a year later, and the extremes now of his behavior. And that's all because it started with those smaller ones that were excused. Now these bigger ones are happening, and her brain is already trained to excuse them. And I can completely sympathize with living with this kind of trauma and this type of just psychological warfare. It is so intense and makes you feel like you're literally going crazy. And this whole thing about him going 150 miles an hour because Mr. Beast didn't invite him to do a video is just the absurdity of that. It just shows you like how crazy some of these streamers get for their views and their numbers. Like, he was literally so obsessed with it. And if you know these streamers, you would know that Mizkif is such a big streamer that if he couldn't call Jimmy himself, he could have had his agent call Jimmy's agent to get on a Mr. Beast video. This is not something that was an impossibility for him. In the internet streamer world, he has probably some of the best chances to get on a Mr. Beast video. So this overreaction and then putting his life and her life in danger like that, you know, again, is just an example of how crazy things can get when a person is in a mental health crisis and they are not dealing with it. It can legitimately get so dangerous that it's putting their life and other people's lives in danger. And I'm glad that nothing ever happened to these two or anyone else because of his actions. But the fact that he did it, I mean, his instability was just blatantly showing.
Then at home, other things would happen. Like, I'd be trying to sleep and he would scream at me and say that it was all my fault that he felt insecure. There was a time that I walked into a room that he was in, and as soon as he saw me there, he threw his phone at the dresser and started yelling because I had posted a YouTube video within the same couple of days as him, and mine was doing better. So basically, I felt like I was kind of stuck in a loop where I felt like I had to constantly perform and like prove my value to not be thrown away. But at the same time, if I ever performed too well, I was gonna be punished for it. And it just felt like a very rough situation to be stuck in because, I mean, streaming is my hobby and my job. Like, it's a huge part of my life, even before, you know, I met him and became like a larger creator. And I remember thinking all the time how it felt like he hated me, but he still wanted me around for his channel and like his thumbnails and everything. And this is still before I moved out. There was a
And here's an example of the power dynamic. He was her boss, and she's right. As a streamer, part of this org, there's going to be expectations of her. There's going to be metrics that she needs to be making on viewership and subs and other things like that, right? So she's got to keep those numbers high and be increasing. But then her boss slash boyfriend slash coworker is sitting here giving her, harping on her every time she's doing better than him on a stream. So she was in a lose-lose situation. And then he's telling her that he hates her and he's so sick of this and he's so angry with her for having more viewership. But then on the personal side, he's telling her that he loves her, he needs her, he wants to be with her. And that's just all getting convoluted because their worlds are intermeshed, the business and the personal. And that's even more so when you're streaming because they're streaming their life, right? It's IRL streaming. So that makes it even more complicated and never getting this sense of any sort of like safety or space or time away or time to breathe from it. And you're just festering in all this negativity. It really wears on you, like down to your soul. And you can see even to this day, she's still choking up and crying about that because it is so confusing. She feels like she's the one doing something wrong, and it's all his mental health crisis stuff, again, at the very least, at the very worst, exhibiting abusive behavior. Either way, a very difficult and toxic situation to be in.
A week after this breakup, he asked to come over to my house and talk for closure. He came to my house and I was crying like crazy because the emotions were just very high because I was dealing with a lot of major shifts in my life as a result of me attempting to start to try to distance myself from him. He, so yeah, we were just talking and I was crying a lot. He started to try to comfort me by hugging me while I was sitting on the couch and holding me really close to him. And when this was happening, we hadn't talked in quite a while, and I'm usually very uncomfortable with being touched a lot by people that I'm not in a relationship with. But I let him hold me while I was crying. And he started kissing me in my face, and I let him do it. I was still sobbing a lot. And then, suddenly, he tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants. And, I screamed. Yeah. And when I screamed, he jumped off me like a cat, like. And, instead of apologizing or checking if I was okay, he said, "I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. I have to go." And he immediately left my house while I was still crying, without, checking if I was okay or anything. And at the time, I was still making excuses for him, and I was still afraid of causing trouble for other streamers around us, or like, you know, making things weird for viewers. I know that probably sounds crazy, but like, I just felt this pressure, like I had to try to keep things together, if that makes sense.
I think everyone can agree here that 100,000% we can all understand, at the very least empathize and sympathize with the situation that she was in, because of her work and personal life being blended in together into the streaming. She doesn't want to like cause all this quote unquote drama because of his bad behavior. And even though she is one of the biggest girl streamers, she's one of the biggest streamers, period. But even still, there is that sense of fear because of that power dynamic between them. He is her boss ultimately, right? And he has a slightly larger and more loyal fan base because he's been streaming for a decade. She's only been streaming for a handful of years. So completely understandable why she didn't want to make this a public thing, or even to talk about it with people in their organization, because she's ultimately complaining about her boss. We talk about power dynamics in corporations all the time. It's the same situation, maybe even worse, because of the fact that the personal life is already part of the business life. And for what she had to say about that event, it's like, Ms., like, oh, what a bad read. Like, what were you thinking? You hadn't seen her in a long time. Like, yes, she let you hug her. Yes, she let you kiss her. But to jump into third base, it's like so inappropriate, especially with her crying and everything. It's like he really was reading that situation incorrectly. At the very least, at the worst, he was definitely trying to take advantage of her in a moment of weakness, which is absolutely disgusting. Which one of the twos does it actually fall into? I don't know. Still, either way, just not the right time. Like, such a bad move. And I do want to say, though, I understand that she was upset that he didn't check on her after. I'm not really sure what was she hoping for. What was her expectation at the moment that he was going to apologize, try to make amends with her? Even if he did, I don't believe that she would have taken it in sincerity. And the right thing to have done would have been the next day to call or text her to check on her and to apologize and to make amends. And he clearly did not do that. So still handled it wrong, but I don't think having the expectation of him handling correctly at that time was an appropriate expectation to have, because she did know that he was in a mental health crisis that was getting worse and worse as time was going on. So he is not going to have like the appropriate reaction to things. Clearly, right?
I have not spoken to him since January of this year. It's been 10 months. But, you think that's the end? It is, unfortunately not. I haven't spoken to him since January of this year. It only took a couple of weeks, but soon the messages started. He has attempted to contact me over 40 times individually this year in individual texts, Discord messages, Instagram DMs, and phone calls. And, I'm just gonna show those. And at first, it started simple. It'd be confusing messages or like him expressing he was worried about things. Like, first it wasn't anything weird.
All right, I'm going to attempt to read some of these. Can we please communicate so I don't feel isolated and hated by my own org? I just want to be okay with each other, and I feel with our streams and lives, we shouldn't have this feeling. I came home and feel terrible. It feels so odd that I cannot talk to you or anyone and just know what's happening. Can you please respond? I understand and will just leave you alone, but I really would appreciate if we can talk. I won't text you again after this. I really do want to talk if possible. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I can't just not message you. I will care about you. If you need to talk, I'm here. I'm so sorry. It's kind of hard to see. Can we please talk, Emmy? I'm so sorry for what I said. Can we talk tomorrow? Hey, I found out you weren't invited to the party. I know you wouldn't want to go, but I didn't do invites. You were invited, of course, and I hope you're doing okay, and one day we can talk. Emmy, can we please talk? I really need to tell you things. I'm so sorry for the past few months. I'm so sorry for so much that happened. I need this time to be alone, but I really love you so much. I just needed to know what being alone, and I learned I need you. I don't want to be without you. I regret so much that hurt you, and I left, but I know I needed it. I want so much with you. Please just hear me out. I wrote a lot of how I feel. I've been writing so much, and I learned so much about myself. Just please, if you can hear me out, I love you so much, Emmy. I've been crying every night without you. I'm sorry I've done any of this. I've been depressed without you. Just please call me. I'll be up. I will do anything for you. I will come home from Japan right now for you. Can you answer me, Emmy? Just at least tell me you moved on. Hey, would you be willing to talk? I know it's been a while. I just want to say that I'm going back to Austin next week, and I think you and I should at least be able to talk and communicate with each other. I'm going to be also doing a lot of collabs, and I know you've been doing a lot of collabs lately, and I feel that we should be amicable with each other. So it's not weird because we're both now doing a lot of collabs, and I feel like it would be really weird considering we're both also in the same org that we just not talk to each other at all and have zero communication. I want to come back and for us to be at least...
This is not someone who loves or cares about you.
At least be okay. I don't want to need to talk to you about anything in terms of relationship. I just want to talk to you in terms of business and also just overall collaboration, so I think we should have a conversation. If you can call me sometime this week, I think that would be great. Hope you're doing well. If we can't communicate and we're going to continue to not talk, this is only going to get weirder and weirder, and we're both invited to the same things constantly, and we're both involved in Austin activities. It's best for both. Looks like a Twitter thing. Can you please answer my phone? Not a day has gone by in these last 4 months where your final words to me, "Don't go," haven't echoed in my heart. I walked out your door thinking I knew what I wanted, but I was wrong. I told myself I needed to be alone, that I would have missed out on being single in my 30s. I convinced myself I needed space, freedom, distance, but the truth is I was afraid of commitment, afraid of what it meant to truly let someone in, even someone as beautiful and kind as you. So I tried to protect myself in the worst way possible. I pushed you away. I told myself lies to justify it. I said I was bored. I said a relationship would hold me back. I said I didn't want to be with just one person. But those weren't truths. They were shields I put up to avoid facing my fears and the parts of myself I hadn't yet healed. And in doing that, I lost you. I can read a little bit off the side. It says, "You are the love of my life. Every night we spent watching shows, every silly conversation about cheddar, every time I walked into your room as you were about to go live, I cherished it all. You brought color and joy into my life in ways I didn't fully appreciate until I lost you. And I have had that let fear and pain and pride blind me to how lucky I was to have you." Emmy, if you still have any space in your heart for me, I would spend the rest of my life making things right, loving you the way you're always deserved to be loved, this time fully. I'm leaving for LA, but I would make it work with you, even if we could start small. It's always been Matt and Emmy, and it still could be if you would have me, Matt. Wow, he even signed that one. This looks like an Instagram message. Can we talk while you're here? A simple conversation would go very far for the both of us. The lack of communication is very confusing, and I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. I'm not sure what it is.
And keep in mind, this is only things that he sent to me. I can't document all the things that people told me that he was saying. And, just kind of a funny side note, I guess. I would like to highlight this message. Because, doesn't really matter, but I ran it through a ChatGPT checker. And, all the highlights, like I said, doesn't really matter. I just thought it was interesting.
Oh no, dude, she caught you using ChatGPT. I even know which messages it was. It's the ones over here to the right of the screen with all the dashes. Because I use ChatGPT for work and stuff. And for whatever reason, wherever a comma is supposed to go, it puts these stupid dashes. So it's like obvious that it's ChatGPT. It does it all the time. I have to constantly correct that and put in the commas. I mean, looking through these messages, over 40 through different platforms is definitely obsessive and unnecessary. Should have just left her alone or found better ways to communicate with her. Reading through what he was saying, it seems like he was trying to express to her that he needed some time alone, and in that time alone, he realized that he really did love her and apologizing for his bad behavior and to make the amends of doing better. That's best case scenario, right? Worst case, we have an abuser who's trying to gaslight, manipulate, and convince their victim to come back to them. Coming from Emmy's side, it was definitely overkill, unnecessary, very inappropriate, because you have to remember this is also her boss, and he was manipulatively trying to use business as a way to get her attention, but ultimately she would still have to communicate with somebody in the org, right? And this is not any her fault, right? And I'm not saying that. I'm just highlighting how difficult it must be for her, because her boss is her crazy ex. And so how does she get things done, like sponsorships and other stuff? I know she has a manager and they probably handle all that kind of stuff, but still being in the org and this person being the boss of it all, I can imagine that must have been scary and frustrating for her, because her business could be on the line if she doesn't respond to him, but he's using that power of authority to try to get her attention romantically, and she was no longer interested, and he needed to respect that either way. And I can empathize and sympathize with a person going through a mental health crisis, but none of this behavior is excusable.
I made the mistake of thinking that I only had to cut him off through personal, private communication, but I also had to start avoiding going to the same parties or places I was worried he'd be in person. Because this was after he came back from his first trip to Japan. There was a party that I attended several months after I first went into contact with him. I was aware that he would be there, and I thought it'd be fine. I thought it wouldn't be a big deal. I thought I'll just let him have his space, I'll have my space, it's not a big deal. We're adults, right? During this party, I felt like he was following me around and monitoring me, but I thought that I was just being paranoid. I was like, it's probably just in your head. I was hanging out with Nick and Kachi and a couple other friends. And at some point, Nick was like, it's too fucking loud down here. Let's go upstairs. No one's upstairs. Let's just go, chill in a room and like talk where it's not so loud. And I was like, okay. So they, as a group, went upstairs first without me, but it took me a bit longer to get up there because someone like stopped me and was talking to me. And I did feel like, he was like standing pretty close to that person. I felt like he was watching me, but again, I thought I was just being paranoid. But I went upstairs. I was hanging out with Nick and Kachi and, our other friends. And then about 30 minutes later, the room that we're in, the door opens. It's Miz. He opens the door, makes eye contact with me, goes, ooh, and then closes the door and leaves. And I was like, what the fuck? But again, I was still trying my best to, give the benefit of the doubt, like, maybe it's just like an awkward situation or something. But a couple months later, the person that he was hanging out with that night reached out to me privately and was apologizing. And I was like, why? And they're like, I just felt like I had to apologize to you because I felt so bad and so embarrassed of what was going on. Like, yes, he wanted to see what you were doing. He was saying like, I want to go see what's upstairs, and he was checking every room. And then after he opened the room that you were in with Nick, he closed the door and started laughing, and then he just wanted to talk about, how you guys broke up for the next, like, however many hours of the night. So I was like, wow.
All right, so just kind of gathering my thoughts here on that story that she was sharing. We don't know for certain if he was following her around. You have to consider that this is a person that deals with a lot of trauma because of past and active stalkers. So already feeling unsafe around her ex, I think any presence of him, she can just in general already be feeling that sense of fear and security and unsafe. So even, she kind of glances over that. Now, at the very least, weird moment for Ms. again, walking into the room, seeing them there. It's like he doesn't know how to react and, walking out. I don't know how serious of an accusation this can be taken, because by face value, she was in a room, he walked in, saw her, got uncomfortable, and walked out. That we can agree at least is the facts. She does talk about her own sense of feeling unsafe with his presence there. Definitely can respect that. But now when a third-party person comes in to share information, I have to take it as a grain of salt. Not maybe so much as gossip, but slightly gossipy because of this. This streamer world is like a high school clique, and she's currently the most popular girl in school. Her ex was the most popular boy in school, but because of some issues has kind of lost his footing and standing, right? And so these other streamers are going to tell her things that they think she wants to hear. They want to show her support, to show that they are on her side, to get in her good graces in the hopes of getting to do a collab with her. That's just how that industry is. So this friend telling her this time later, like not even the next day, he waited until weeks or months later to say something to her when this was now really starting to brew, like more people were starting to know about this drama. It's very hard to take it as 100% fact. So I'm going to give everybody grace here.
That's good to know, I guess. The next story that I want to tell involves what happened to me, Valkyrie, and Cinna earlier this year when we were attacked at the Santa Monica Pier, because that was obviously... Hold on, let me close all these fucking texts. I don't want to look at them. They're still on my desktop. Where was I? Yeah, so, yeah, it happened March 3rd of this year. A lot of people were talking about it, talking about how me, Ray, and Cinna were attacked. Which was not an issue. Like, we had no issue with that. Like, obviously, it's big news. People are gonna talk about it. It should be talked about. We had, like, no issues with anyone talking about it and covering it, and that included him. I was fine with that. He joined in on that whole thing of people going live to talk about it. And again, I'd like to remind people at this point, we were already a couple months into me being no contact with him, making it clear I didn't want anything to do with him. And so during this stream, he was covering what happened to me, Ray, and Cinna. He decided that he was going to tell more of my personal stalker stories that I've never personally talked about or shared publicly myself. And one of these stories was one that, like, no one knew at all, and, like, it just felt so shitty because at the time that those things happened, like, you know, all the people that lived in that area together, we all came together and we all kind of decided, and this was heavily pushed by him, we should never talk about this because, you know, people are gonna be weird, it puts Emmy in more danger, and, you know, it gives people ideas, so we're never gonna talk about it. But, you know, of course, as soon as there's some big drama that he's not involved in, and he finds a way to, you know, bring up, oh, I was there for something that happened to Emmy, he does it. He was on a stream talking about these personal stories of mine, and I caught wind of it. And by the way, it was also so frustrating not saying anything at this time because the way he told those stories, he kind of framed himself as, like, the hero. He was like, oh, I held the stalker at gunpoint. No. The only person who ever came into contact face-to-face with that stalker before the police came was Bonnie. Bonnie is the person who found that guy outside, went inside, told everyone, called the police came. All Miz did was he stood far away from the front door, behind glass and metal, with a gun. Yeah, I mean, I understand, still very scary, but why are you acting like if anyone deserves credit for that, it's Bonnie. Like, it's literally stolen valor. I'm so glad I finally get to say that because she is the one who, like, kept everyone in those two houses safe, not him. Anyway.
Ooh, I could feel how mad she was in that moment, right? Like just the anger in having to give that correction, which totally understandable. And again, it's one of these situations where, best case scenario, maybe he forgot that they had this agreement to not share this particular instance. And in the middle of his IRL ramblings, talking about the most recent stalker situation to happen to her and her friends, this story came out. Okay. At worst case, it was definitely very manipulative, maybe as a way to get her attention, clearly did, or just to feel like he is still part of her life, which, best case scenario, he forgot that they made this agreement not to say anything. They're IRL streaming, he's sharing stories, and you're just going and going and going. And these people stream 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 hours a day straight. So I can see where a mistake like that can happen, right? Worst case, it is an abuser trying to get his victim's attention, making her feel like he is still part of her life, right? So we don't really know for certain. She definitely has every right to be upset and feel violated because they did make this agreement to not share that trauma. And for him to do that was very inappropriate, and he definitely should have found a way to apologize to her for doing that. But I thought it was funny that she just had to correct his story, because it's true in his story, and he kind of goes over it again in his video. But he paints himself definitely as the knight in shining armor. He said he was out there with the dude and he had a gun pointed to the guy's head. And in her retelling of the story, he's behind the window inside the house, which, sorry, Ms., to be fair, I believe her. I don't think that you had the balls to run out there and hold a gun to some guy's head until the cops came. No, sorry, you are not that guy. I wholeheartedly believe that you were probably standing by the window watching him with a gun in your hand, but you definitely did not approach him like Batman or something, dude. Relax.
Back to the original thing, the Ray and Senna stuff. So, I was obviously panicking. Like, I just had this horrible thing happen to me the night before. It was like huge, like public, millions of people seeing it. And then my crazy ex-boyfriend is going live talking about more of my personal stuff. And I'm like crying, and Senna and Ray are like what's wrong? And I tell them, and I'm like panicking. I'm like, I need to call so-and-so, I need to call so-and-so, I need to call so-and-so. Like these different people that I was like, they can contact him, because I did not want to contact him. So, Ray, Senna, some of me and Miz's mutual business partners, and asmongold were all messaging him to stop. And by the way, asmongold told me that he tried to call Miz while he was talking, and it rang 3 times and then hung up, which means that he saw it and he just wanted to be able to keep talking because
Okay, to be fair, right? We don't know if he was actually ignoring Asmon's calls, right? If you don't know, Asmon is the other co-founder and co-owner of OTK, and also one of her bosses and really good friends. So I don't know if in the midst of his ranting and doing his stream, he just didn't see the phone and everything going off. We have to give him that benefit of the doubt and be fair. And I know people don't want to, but the fact is we don't know 100% where was his phone. If it's on stream somewhere and his phone's sitting right there and you can see him hanging it up, okay, fine. But to be fair, it's like we don't know if he was ignoring people's calls because he just wanted to keep talking about this story. I'm sorry, Emily, I just really have a hard time believing that. I think it's more likely that he was not paying attention to his phone. And it rang through. Just because a phone rings so many times doesn't mean a person is ignoring you. There have been plenty of times that people have accused me of hanging up on them when my phone was dead or I was on another call. So we don't know for certain.
As of today, it's been about 2 months since he has attempted to contact me directly. I think because about 2 months ago is when he started kind of getting scared that I might have been telling people things, which again, I wasn't going out of my way to do it, but if anyone ever asked me, I wasn't gonna lie to them. I mentioned this at the beginning before I started fully telling the story. I heard from my friends, other streamers, and my employees that he had cooked up a plot that if I ever tried to talk about him, about the abuse or anything else, he would try to go live and say that I killed my rabbits. And I was told that he approached several streamers who were around us a lot when we lived together and asked if they would basically back him up, and they refused. Obviously, they're not insane.
This whole thing with her bunnies, I'm gonna call it Bunnygate, has become quite an interesting story between the two of them out of all of this. But taking off of just face value, she's not really saying much here. But if she really wasn't abusing these animals or she wasn't taking care of them, right? Even still, threatening to use that information against her is so manipulative and dirty. We can go into it more when we watch Miz's video because he elaborates more on why he called her a bunny killer. But regardless of the details of the situation, regardless of whether it's even true or not, to be fair, honestly, threatening to expose her for that, knowing how the internet feels about their animals, is so dirty and low. Now he's just getting to a point that it's definitely getting harder to justify these actions, right? This was somebody that you're in love with for the last 8 months. You've been begging her to come back to you. And then when you don't get her attention, when you finally accept that she doesn't want to have anything to do with you, now you want to start talking about her dirty secrets, right? You had no issue with it while you were with her, while you were actively trying to get her back. But now she's a dirty abuser because you're no longer actively seeking. That is where the biggest issue lies with me with all of this, is don't start being on a moral high horse about animals, for example, when you knew this was going on and actively let it happen. Though his version of the story, he says he didn't, right? But if we're gonna just take her side of it, it is completely untrue and unequivocally false. And if that is the case, honestly, either way, that's just so dirty and low. That to me is showing that this person doesn't actually love you. The fact that he is willing to expose something super embarrassing or unethical, incorrect about you now, only because that person can't be with you anymore, yeah, that obviously shows that there isn't love there. That's not real love. Somebody really loves you, they'll help you work through that. To go so far as to threaten to tell everybody about it is just so dirty. All right, so I just want to take a couple minutes to kind of share some of my thoughts here about her video. I appreciate and commend her for coming forward and sharing her experience and being vulnerable. It is not easy to come out and talk about going through an abusive situation with someone who is going through a mental health crisis. And of course, we're just going off of her words and her experience and what she was relaying to us. And I can really empathize with her because I've been in a very similar situation as her. It can be very difficult navigating somebody else's mental health problems, but that doesn't mean that you were the sole person responsible to do that. And she carried that burden all alone for a very long time. That is really like the best case scenario. At worst case, Ms. was abusing her, manipulating her. Going through that as well is so traumatic. And so it's like either way, whatever the circumstances were, she had to go through very traumatic relationship with him on top of her own fears of stalkers and things like that, and legitimate fears at that, and then having that trust broken by your partner. It's very heartbreaking, and I hope that she takes this time to reflect, self-heal, really focus on what are the things that are important to her long-term and short-term goals, and maybe taking some time to herself and really finding herself as a woman. All right, so next up is Mrs. Video, and we're gonna see what he has to say about his ex-girlfriend's accusations of SA and abuse.
This is April of 2021. Okay, I'm gonna write everything down. Everyone, just chill and let me hear this out. Okay. We met online when we were playing AT&T Annihilator Cup. This is me and Emmy. I was introduced to her through it, and my chat started to like us hanging out. I didn't have feelings for her or anything, but I thought we could start hanging out more and be friends. So we met through the Annihilator Cup. A lot of you guys know this. I was playing with her. My chat liked her a lot. She was fun to hang out with, so we started hanging out. We started to play games with each other on stream, and we started to grow closer together. We started calling each other, and we were flirting. We didn't do anything, but it was pretty obvious that Emiru had feelings for me as well as I had for her. But we couldn't really do anything because at the time, she was dating a girl named Bonnie, another cosplayer from another state, and I was dating Maya. Me and Maya broke up. I broke up with her because the relationship felt stagnant, and Maya's sanctuary started to take over a lot of her life, and we hardly had time to hang out with each other. Since Maya moved out, I knew I wanted a streamer to move into the house, preferably a girl to farm content with, but I didn't want it to happen so fast. I didn't know if I wanted to be Emmy, but she told me about a stalker that came to her house with a bat, and she didn't live at her house anymore. I'm telling you everything, chat, okay? Come on. I'm telling you the whole story. Sit down and relax, all right? Take a seat. I told her to come move in with me in Austin because she had a stalker, and we want to make content, and the guy will probably be scared since there's a bunch of people around instead of her in her Kansas home by herself. From there, our relationship started growing very fast. Within just weeks of moving in, she would sit in my room with me late at night, and I would watch Pokemon over and over again, season 1. I loved it because she made me feel like it felt like my childhood and a place of calmness. She would fall asleep in my bed. With some nights, we would touch our backs or legs together. We knew we liked each other. We just knew it was a bad idea. Talks of her joining OTK happened fast as well, and I knew that if we were potentially going to date, we'd have to keep it a secret. Nobody was allowed to know. Streamers as well were already starting to resent me, saying that it was a shitty thing that I moved Emmy in so fast and replaced Maya so quickly. If people found out we were dating, I could be hated by my peers and lose what I created in OTK. I didn't know if we were going to date, and I knew if we were going to make it happen, it was going to be very stressful. But I had no idea what was going to come. It was the beginning of January of 2022. Emmy just had her huge party in an arcade celebrating her birthday on stream. Everyone from Austin was there, and as we were celebrating her joining OTK, there was a huge scare. Someone outside in the parking lot rammed into my Audi R8 and drove off. And while we were outside thinking it was a schizo viewer, we were told that the person who just hit my car was now inside holding a gun. This scared us to no end. Me and Connery's pants ran inside in fear to get everyone out and make sure everything is okay. My first concern was Emmy. I wanted her to be safe. The cops came, the drunk driver did have a gun, and was sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison. Me and Emmy were terrified that night, and on the way home, I grabbed her hand, and she grabbed mine, and we knew we were trauma bonded, and we didn't want to let go.
Oh my God, wow, that hit my soul a certain way when he said that after that incident, they were trauma bonded. You really have to think, really put into perspective what he is saying here. When two people trauma bond like that, the amount of toxicity that can start brewing in that relationship can happen very quickly, very fast. I think this is a good example of how this relationship started. I mean, he was already in his head thinking ahead of time about how he would handle dating her. There is that power dynamic thing that I don't think he's fully acknowledging. I think he's seeing it more like, oh, we're two streamers in the same organization. That can cause some drama. Yes, that can, but the greater issue is the power dynamic between you two. You are her boss. That alone already is going to start a lot of problems in your relationship. The fact that he admitted to this trauma bonding is just so deep for me.
We would wake up together, stream together, and hang out with each other all night. She quickly became my best friend, and someone that I felt for the first time I was in love with. We hung out all day, every day. We were always so happy with each other. Playing games until the night, loving every moment we were with each other. It felt poor. Jack, relax. I remember one day I left my house. She called me just so we can be on the phone together, as we always did. And we were playing a song called Falling in Love with You with Elvis came on, and I felt that love, first time I felt love for a girl, and I thought I'd want it to never let it go. The first year of our relationship, we almost had no fights. We started to date officially in January of 2022, and up until my cancellation, everything was perfect. She brushed over that I threw water bottles or my phone near her, but that wasn't during fights. I want to make that very clear. It would be me throwing my phone on my bed when I brushed my teeth. She did tell me she got a bruise from it, and I stopped. That's all that happened. I will throw you and show you an example.
Okay, I was waiting to see what his response was going to be about the throwing his phone and punching walls. And to me, this was a very disingenuous response. I don't believe it. I don't believe that you were just throwing your phone because, oh, you were just brushing your teeth and you threw your phone on the bed. That's not going to scare her, okay? It's like, yes, she is a traumatized person because of all the stalking situations, and he talked about another one with the person with the gun. I mean, this girl, what she deals with is just absolute insanity. Like, not even celebrities get the amount of stalkers that this one streamer girl gets. I understand that she is going to be sensitive to certain types of actions that people might express when they are angry or frustrated. Aggressive types behavior that can be very traumatic for her, right? But I don't think that just throwing your phone on the bed because you're brushing your teeth is going to cause like such a reaction from her that she would have to tell you to stop, because it's bringing back feelings of fear and anxiety. And there's no excuse for punching walls and breaking doors, okay? Those are all aggressive actions. Those are all done because a person is angry or frustrated. And maybe you weren't angry or frustrated with her at the time, but you were at something. So take accountability for that bad behavior. I'm not even saying that that behavior is exactly abusive. Like I said in her video, at best case scenario, this is a person who is going through a mental health crisis and did not know how to deal with it correctly. At worst case, these are signs of an abuser. I'm not putting one label or the other on him, but what I would like to see is him take accountability for that. And I think lying about it and saying, oh, I just threw my phone because I was brushing my teeth or whatever, that is just so blasé. You are not even taking the accusation seriously. No one believes that she is that much of a scaredy cat, okay? So that is ridiculous, dude.
Throw it at her. I want to make that very clear. I never threw it at her. I never hit her. And she even said in her situation that she bruises easily. She brushed over that I threw water bottles with her on my phone near her, but that wasn't during our fights. It would be throwing my phone on my bed when I brushed my teeth. She did tell me she got bruises from it, and I stopped. That's all that happened. That's it. I did feel a lot of stress over the time of our relationship up until this point from her stalkers. From the ones that would show up at her old house, and also stalkers that just had from her TikTok postings. We found after being with each other that her stalkers had a lot from would come to her a lot from her short form content. These people were schizophrenic and would think that she is talking to them. Whether it was songs she played, the way she looked at the screen, or just the titles of the videos, these people started to feel she was talking to them and come to our house to stalk her. These people thought in their heads they were dating her. They were out of their mind and dangerous. I told her if we're going to be serious about this relationship, I need her to stop posting as much and to not farm these people. She agreed and understood that it was a safety concern for not only me, but the house. Russell, Simply, Corey, or anyone that was in my house or anyone that was near us. She agreed that she wouldn't want to hurt anyone else and knew that posting these types of TikToks and posts can mess with us and is something I'm not comfortable with as a guy. So she would tell me that if I had a problem to let her know. And at first it was minor things here and there, but over time it got harder and harder to deal with.
I want to take a moment here to analyze what he was just saying and expressing. He is talking about having to deal with all her stalkers. And to be fair, it has got to be incredibly difficult, not just for the person who's being stalked, but the people in their daily lives that live with them, also having to live through this trauma. And I can imagine that as a man, as her boyfriend, as her boss, it was very frustrating not knowing the best ways to keep her safe and to keep them all safe. That responsibility did fall on him as the one that was living in the home that had the most in-person interaction with the people of the org. It was his responsibility to keep her and the rest of them, including himself, safe. So I don't want to take away from that trauma of having to live through that. Telling her that it is her fault because she's posting TikToks is completely absurd. Even if they were coming from TikTok, right? Like, you could prove that. Her just closing that account is not going to stop these psychopaths. They'll find other means of finding her and getting in contact with her. I don't think he was suggesting that as a way of being helpful. I think it goes back to what she was talking about earlier about his jealousy of her numbers and her viewing streams. I think that he was jealous that all she had to do was put on a cute little outfit, take a couple of pictures, and she's gonna get 10 times as many likes as him, right? But blaming her for the way she dresses or the music that she plays on her content is victim blaming. She could be wearing a baggy t-shirt and baggy pants, and those same guys would be stalking her. And to be fair, like, looking through her content, she doesn't really post anything very provocative. She doesn't dress very provocatively. He's complaining about her wearing pajamas, and he's the one sexualizing the pajamas. And I get it, those creeps are too, but victim blaming her, telling her that she needs to change herself and her content to appease him, to bringing down the pressure of the stalkers, was one, unacceptable, and two, unrealistic, because they were going to do it anyway.
Throw it at her. I want to make that very clear. I never threw it at her. I never hit her. And she even said in her situation that she bruises easily. She brushed over that I threw water bottles with her on my phone near her, but that wasn't during our fights. It would be throwing my phone on my bed when I brushed my teeth. She did tell me she got bruises from it, and I stopped. That's all that happened. That's it. I did feel a lot of stress over the time of our relationship up until this point from her stalkers. From the ones that would show up at her old house, and also stalkers that just had from her TikTok postings. We found after being with each other that her stalkers had a lot would come to her a lot from her short form content. These people were schizophrenic and would think that she is talking to them. Whether it was songs she played, the way she looked at the screen, or just the titles of the videos, These people started to feel she was talking to them and come to our house to stalk her. These people thought in their heads they were dating her. They were out of their mind and dangerous. I told her if we're going to be serious about this relationship, I need her to stop posting as much and to not farm these people. She agreed and understood that it was a safety concern for not only me, but the house. Russell, Simply, Corey, or anyone that was in my house or anyone that was near us. She agreed that she wouldn't want to hurt anyone else and knew that posting these types of TikToks and posts can mess with us and is something I'm not comfortable with as a guy. So she would tell me that if I had a problem to let her know. And at first it was minor things here and there, but over time it got harder and harder to deal with.
Here's the thing, Ms. In this situation, there is nothing that I can say to justify your behavior. You as the boss, you as the co-owner, knew better to not have a relationship with her. And the fact that you took the initiative, because she wouldn't have. The type of person that she is a very introverted type of person. She doesn't like drama or conflict or to be put in any type of uncomfortable situation. So she was not going to be the one to express to him that she wants to be with him, okay? He is the more extroverted person, and he's the more extroverted person. So I can see that he would be the one that was actively pursuing her, but knowing his position, knowing the rules that they had set up, and he was okay with breaking all of that to continue to start a relationship with her was extraordinarily inappropriate. And yeah, Ms., I believe it was a lot of extra stress because having to keep that secret plus everything else going on, you should have known better, dude. You should have known better. You shouldn't have even added that extra stress. And for those who follow him, would know that in this time period, he had just broken up with his last girlfriend, who is also a streamer, but really I think she got into it more because of her relationship with him. So they had literally just broken up when he moved Emiru into their home and was pursuing her, right? That's another reason why he didn't want to say anything, because he knew that the internet was going to shit on him for that. He was already getting a lot of heat for the breakup of their relationship, though they both said that it was an amicable breakup. So we're not going to speak on that. Actively pursuing this other girl so quickly, yeah, the internet was not going to take that well at all. So all that stress accumulating, I could see where these bad behaviors like throwing the phone and punching the wall would happen, but that doesn't make it right. You should have never started dating her, first and foremost. You had just gone out of a serious relationship with somebody else that you've been with for a couple years. Should have taken that time to reflect and move forward with your life. That would have saved you a lot of this stress, and maybe wouldn't have pushed him to the mental health crisis extent that it had gotten.
If we were going to be serious about this relationship, I need to stop posting as much and to not farm these people. And then there was more stress on top of this. We both had to hide the relationship from everyone. If anyone found out or was known, I can get in a ton of trouble with OTK and can cause a ton of problems in my life. So I lied to all of my old friends, S-Fan included, who lived just next door to me, and everyone in OTK. And that was very hard for me to do.
Okay, I just want to quickly say something about this lawsuit that he's speaking about, because it doesn't seem like any other streamers that knew him and were involved in this are going to correct what he has to say. So I will. So what he's talking about is what we had talked about earlier in Emiru's video, that there was a streamer girl that had accused Mrs. Best Friend, who is also a streamer, of SA during a party. A lawsuit was eventually brought forward for emotional distress and interference with business relations, but the case was dismissed. He wasn't proven innocent by a judge or found not guilty by a juror of his peers. It was dismissed because there was a lack of sufficient evidence, which trying to prove like emotional distress already is going to be super difficult. And interference with business relations, I mean, that can also be a little bit difficult to put together and monetarily put together, because this girl was never a big streamer. It would be really hard for her to prove that that cover up is the reason why her streams never blew up. Her streams never blew up because she's just not talented and not interesting. That's why they didn't blow up. So I'm not surprised that the case was dismissed, but I want to say something about that because
We had a doggy door between our rooms just so we can hide it from everyone else, including my roommates. We would lock the doors to avoid our roommates finding out. As time went on, they found out, but to most of our friends in the Austin circle, they never officially knew. That stress alone would drive anyone mad, but our love for each other was strong and we knew we could handle it. So, in September in 2022, a lot of you guys know, I was canceled by Trainwrecks and others trying to claim I covered up sexual assault. It was proven wrong, but that destroyed my mental health. I felt like my brain cracked, and I was never the same since. I was suicidal, depressed, and I didn't know what to do with my own life. Every day felt like an absolute nightmare. I was losing OTK, my mental health, and all my friends.
I mean, taking what he's saying off of face value, right? I can imagine the guilt and shame that he felt because of his mental health crisis now bleeding out to the person that he cares the most about, which is his girlfriend at the time. And I've heard from other people who have gone through depression and anxiety and different types of mental health crisis that there is a huge amount of guilt that they live with because they know that they're directly and indirectly negatively affecting the people that they love. And though they know that in this moment, maybe the best thing to do is to separate from everyone, at the same time, they don't want to feel any more lonely or hopeless than they already do. And so it's an awful cycle and a tremendous amount of guilt that someone has to live with. And listen, I'm coming at this from a very neutral perspective. I don't have feelings for either one of these streamers, one way or the other. So looking at it from face value and taking his word for what it is and seeing the emotion that he's going through. Yes, people can say he's faking it, whatever, fine, that's your opinion. But I can really feel what he's saying in that moment, because speaking with others who have gone through a similar mental health crisis, this is not uncommon. And these people do live with the guilt and shame of that, which makes it even harder for them to ask for the proper help.
Emiru was one of the only people that were there for me. She ditched sponsors to go with me to Japan.
Dry our lips.
She went with me anywhere I needed because she wanted me to be happy. And she knew sometimes I freaked out, I lashed out, but she loved me and she knew I was in a terrible mental place. It got so bad that stress and constant talking about the same things over and over and no sleep and depression that most of my hair started to fall out and Emiru started to hurt herself while we were in Japan. As this time happened, I was a massive wreck. Couldn't think straight and being that Emiru hung out with me all day, she too started to become high strung.
Okay, y'all know I had to pause here to say something, okay? Now, I know that people are taking sides and the majority of the internet wants to take Emiru's side. And it is fair based on a lot of what she had to say. But none of that excuses Bunnygate here, okay? If we are to take what he is saying as fact, and that video that was her cage, that is absolutely disgusting. You cannot claim to be an animal person and then leave 7 of your rabbits to live in that kind of filth. And for a person who has had pets like that, you can't just let their cage go like that, especially like with rabbits. Little hamster, right? Maybe you can get away with every week cleaning their cage. At the worst, like every 2 weeks. Worse, a month, right? But rabbits, like, these are much bigger animals. Like, you're gonna have to clean their cage out, like, if you're a good rabbit owner, every other day, at the very least once a week, and like the worst case, maybe 10 days, maybe. And that's what it looks like that cage was, because you have to take into consideration there's like 7 of them in there, right? But regardless, whether it's 1 or 7, the cage should have never gotten like that. So if that was her cage and that's how those rabbits were living, shame on her, honestly. And the thing is, I have met so many young women in that age group in their 20s that will hoot and holler how much they're animal people and love animals and hate animal abusers and this and that. And then they get all these pets and then don't take care of them. I have known people that will get a whole room full of reptiles and then just leave them there. Or people who will get a puppy or a cat and then just never take care of them. I've had roommates that didn't walk their dogs. They literally let them shit and piss all over our apartment or in the room. So this is not like that shocking of a behavior, but if you're going to claim that you're this big animal lover and person, you cannot treat your rabbits like that. You just can't. Now, I will be fair that that video is not enough proof that it was her cage, okay? We can only see the filthy, disgusting ass cage. We have no context in what room it's in or anything, right? But if we are to take this as his proof, that is absolutely disgusting. And she needs to do better than that, because you have that kind of money. You can literally hire someone just to take care of the rabbits. So she has absolutely no excuse.
Emiru has a lot of rabbits. It was her calling when she first moved in. These were a big part of her life. But as those rabbits moved out of her room and into the living room, they started to see disgusting neglect. No food, no water, sometimes not having clean bedding for weeks. I, along with many others who would come over, would give them what they needed, and I would tell her all the time to take care of them, but to no avail. She completely neglected those rabbits, so much that many of them just died over 1 year of being around in my house. My cleaning ladies would clean them just because they felt terrible, and my brother once came over and said, and I quote, "If you ever marry this woman, I'll never forgive you." I didn't even know there was TTS going on. Hold on one sec. Here is a video up close of Emiru's rabbits. These are small little mites that are inside the rabbit cage, and she didn't care. She completely neglected these animals, and I'm not going to sit around and let people say that she didn't. People who came to my house knew that they were neglected. This is an up-close view of the rabbit cage being completely disgusting and neglected. She left them to die, and I'm not going to sit here and have her pretend she didn't. It's fucking disgusting. This is a video from my own brother. I didn't record this. These are mites all around her cage.
Wow, Emiru, if this is true, you really need to reflect on yourself as an owner of any pets. The fact that they moved them outside and they were left there with no food and water is absolutely unacceptable. Again, we don't know if this is fully the truth. She said that he had threatened to say that she abused and killed her animals if she ever came out and said anything, and now he's explaining that, right? So if we were to take his word for it, Yeah, I can understand his side of it. You're getting frustrated that this person, so if we were to take his word for it, then I can completely understand, because I've been in that same situation too with roommates and partners. It's like, don't get the pet if you're not going to take the full responsibility of the pet, and then leave it for other people to have to do that. That gets really frustrating. I've had to take care of many pets that were not mine because they were in my presence, and I can't just let an animal die or get sick. That can really put a lot of stress on a person who's already dealing with a mental health crisis, and then dealing with this on top of that. Yeah, sorry, Emiru. Like, this one is the only one that you're just not gonna get from me. Because if what he's saying is true, there is an underlying issue here. Like, if this is all true, I'm sorry, Emiru, but you shouldn't have been treating those bunnies like that. You should have never got them in the first place, or got so many of them, if you were not going to be able to take on the responsibility of taking care of them. And to me, it's not that crazy. A girl who's on stream 12 hours a day playing League of Legends isn't going out there and taking care of those animals, but she had the means to. Like I said, she could have literally paid somebody just to take care of them. So there is absolutely no excuse. And I could understand from his perspective going through his own mental health crisis, and then having to live with the stress of all these animals not being taken care of. It smells like piss and shit all over the place, and she's just acting like she doesn't give a fuck. So now this is an extra responsibility that you have to take on that you didn't want to take on. Yeah, that's gonna put a lot of stress on any relationship, especially a romantic one. And I could see where he started to doubt furthering a relationship with her, because if she can't take care of these bunnies, then yeah, how is she going to take care of a home, take care of children? It's not the most illogical thing to think of. But again, we are just taking his word for it.
I would tell her to take care of them all the time, but to no avail. She completely neglected those rabbits, so much that many died just over a year or two of being around in my house. My cleaning ladies would clean them just because they felt bad, and my brother once came over and said that if I marry her, he'll never forgive me. In fact, when Maya came over during my cancellation, she actually commented on Emiru's rabbits and said, "These rabbits are completely neglected and this is disgusting." Emiru wouldn't clean the cages, and the smell became so bad that we started to have the rabbits just be outside. I told her if that's the case, she's got to make sure she's giving them water, because they are her responsibility. Instead, these rabbits were left outside in 100-degree heat with no food or water or anything. Most of the time being in cages with no bedding besides poop all over the place. Emmy didn't care. She would sit inside and play League of Legends all day. And what this showed me is that I don't want her to be my children's mother, and I couldn't see myself marrying her.
Okay, so I was wondering if he was going to bring up this story, and I guess he has decided to double down. In his version of the story, he held a gun to the stalker's head for 30 minutes until the cops came. Yeah, babes, sorry but not sorry. There's no way here that I can find two sides of the coin, okay? I don't believe you for a second. I don't believe that you had the balls to go up and hold the gun to this guy for 30 minutes, and that he even stood there and waited for the 30 minutes? Like, are you kidding me? And he didn't try to do something, attack you, run, so he just stood there with you and the gun in front of his face? No, I don't think so, bro. No, that's definitely not how it happened. And just doesn't help his case, because when you start throwing in these little lies, then it really puts the whole video. See, and this is just not helping his case, because when he throws in these little white lies to, I don't know, make himself look better in the situation or the story, it doesn't help with his whole narrative in general. So I really wish he would have just stuck to his truths, right? And I guess to him this was his truth, but you know what I mean. Like, you don't need to embellish in the story. Just lay it all out there like it was. Whether you were holding the gun to his face or standing by the window and holding the gun doesn't change anything in the context of this story. So it's just an unnecessary lie to make himself look better, but all it's doing is just giving people points to call him a disingenuous liar.
The fights from these times started to get worse. I would constantly want to be farther and farther from her. I would use her for content, but after stream would want to be alone. I didn't know how to break up with her or end things. She was a co-owner of my org, the only person I knew, and the strain of the relationship and hiding the relationship was really taking a toll on me. On top of that, the stalkers were getting worse. One stalker came to my house, and I had to point a gun at him for 30 minutes until the cops came.
I mean, I appreciate that he acknowledges that he was controlling, telling her how to dress, how to talk, who to hang out with. And I can understand from the perspective of, in best case scenario, all the stress of these stalkers and a constant stress of these stalkers. He's just trying to come up with any kind of way that she could do something to just kind of help bring some of it down or get it to stop. And like I've said earlier, she could dress like a grandma and these dudes would still be coming after her. None of these suggestions were actually going to be helpful. But under that enormous amount of stress, plus being in a mental health crisis, he was just trying to do the best he could with whatever thoughts he could come up with just to try to help. And as her boss as well, he's got to try to help her keep her safe himself, the rest of the org, and he was giving out some suggestions. Nothing that would have actually been of any help, but I could understand where the suggestions were coming from, why he felt like those particular things would help. He thought maybe if she was less sexualized on the internet, these guys would stop. But what he's not understanding is these guys were going to sexualize her regardless. Now, in the worst case scenario, it is very abusive and manipulative to tell somebody how they can dress, who they can talk to, what they can stream, when they can stream it. And from Emily's perspective, plus all his other actions, I would safely put together too that at the very least, this person is not well and not in a good place to have a relationship. At the worst case, is a person who is showing all the signs of an abuser. So she was not wrong to feeling the way she does, but I can empathize with him. That's really what he was thinking. He's just trying to be helpful amongst all this stress and his own mental health stuff. Then I can empathize.
In regards to being controlling, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole, stop talking about past relationships, and yes, I didn't want her to travel without me. I also said that I didn't want her to hang out with specific people. This is because I didn't want her to get hurt. I didn't want Emmy to get assaulted. I didn't want some man to do something to her when I'm not there, and I wanted to keep her safe. And I know with how my mental was and who I was back then that I didn't do everything right. I know I could have done better, and I'm sorry. I know I was controlling, and I should have just ended the fucking relationship, but I was so confused as a person. And I'm sorry I did it. I'm sorry things got to this fucking point, man.
As a certified mental health professional, I do want to share a little bit on what he was just talking about, because it is very typical in a relationship when it's getting toxic or somebody's going through a mental health crisis that after so long, their partners start to exhibit that behavior too. This is not any kind of diss or putting down Emiru for how she reacted, but this is the kind of thing that does start to brew, and it is unfortunate. They were both being brought down. They had their own stresses, their own mental health issues. He's going through a mental health crisis. She's trying to navigate that, and on top of everything else, and those stresses will accumulate. And I do believe that she probably was throwing her curries, and she probably threw her phone too, and they're just matching each other's energy. Think about the last argument you got into with your partner, right? The arguments start to get louder and heated because someone is always trying to outdo the other in the argument. And then you just get to the point where it gets so loud and crazy and nonsensical that it is just a shouting match at that point. So I can believe that happened between the two of them. And that doesn't excuse either one of their behaviors, but does show that at the very least, neither one of these two were in the right place mentally or emotionally to be in a relationship. And neither one of them should have been dating each other.
Between the rabbits, the stalkers, and the overall ability to handle situations with each other, I knew this wouldn't last, but I didn't know how to get out of the relationship. She did not want to move out. As for me telling Cheddar to leave my house, he was swatting at Chompy constantly and making him bleed. I not only was the one that wanted her to move out first, I was the one that wanted the cat out of the house because he was attacking my cat. Every month went by the last year and our fights started to get louder. We were breaking up with each other almost weekly. Fights were getting more aggressive and shouting began to increase. I was not perfect and I reflect on those situations with poor taste to myself. I'm ashamed that the situations got so bad, but Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression. I one time did say I was going to kill myself during an argument, but Emmy did this as well numerous times. She would constantly say she's going to kill herself in arguments, and I have a picture where while I had a gun pointed at one of her stalkers who came to my house while she was in Kansas, she told me she was going to kill herself out of aggression of the situation while it was happening.
Okay, so I want to analyze this breakup, right? He said that she posted a picture on Instagram that she knew was going to upset him, and she admitted that it did. That is very manipulative language, okay? Because by saying it like that, people could very easily think that what you're saying is that she did it on purpose and admitted to doing that on purpose. But that's not what you're really saying, Miz. You're saying that you think that she did that to make you angry, and she acknowledged that it did make you angry. That's not an admission that she was trying to provoke you. It's just an acknowledgement that it did provoke you. So I don't like that. I don't like that play with his language. I don't know if that was something he did on purpose or it just accidentally came out like that as he is speaking. To me, based on how he has exaggerated certain other stories, I am inclined to believe that he used that language to manipulate the audience to think that she was admitting to trying to make him angry, and that's not really the case.
The relationship wasn't healthy at this point. I knew we had to end it and soon. One day, Emmy posted a very provocative picture, one that she knew I would hate, and she posted it to make me upset. She admitted that she made me upset with it, and we got into a heated argument, and I broke up with her.
Okay, so now he's talking about her essay allegation, right? And their stories pretty much line up. And now hearing Miz's side of the story kind of goes back to what I was saying was like the best case scenario, that he totally misread the moment and acted on going to third base, and it definitely was not the time or place. And I'm glad that he acknowledges that he should have apologized to her sooner than now, but I can understand where Miz is coming from as a man. Nowadays, with women just throwing out allegations left and right, with our society really kind of graying the area of what is sexual assault, in my opinion. What is a man to do? I mean, nowadays, guys can't even make a move on a girl without asking for consent first. There's no more of that romanticism of a man grabbing you by the arm and pulling you in close for a kiss. Guys can't do that now. They're going to get accused of SA at best. Worst case, they're going to be told that they're a rapist. So I completely empathize with young men today and how to approach any kind of sexual situation. And based on the way it was going, I can understand why he made that move. He shouldn't have, when you take into context that she was crying and everything at the time, right? The mature thing to do was to not even have kissed her. The hug maybe was okay, but she says she's a person that is very uncomfortable with touch that is not from a boyfriend. So I'm not sure if he was aware of that ahead of time. If he wasn't, then it should have just stopped at the hug and he could have just played it cool from there. And that would have been the better situation, but he didn't. And the fact that at the moment he didn't apologize, well, he didn't know what to do. And honestly, if he had apologized at the moment, I highly doubt she would have taken it genuinely. She would have said that he had no time to think about it, that he was just saying it to just kind of get an apology out of the way, and it was disingenuous, that he should have thought about it, and that a thoughtful apology would have been one a day or two later. So I think he's in a lose-lose either way in that situation.
One day after staying over Emiru's house, Emiru made me breakfast and she wrote down everything she wanted. She wrote she wants me to move closer to her. She wrote that she wants me to marry her. And she wants kids with me in the next 5 years. And I just looked at this letter that I was staring in front of me, and I just handed her back the paper. She began to cry, and I told her, I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore. I knew we were just beyond the point of toxicity in the relationship, that our trust had completely died, and that we had so many issues that I couldn't deal with it, and I was not mentally well. I walked away. I went to her door, and as I opened it, the last words I ever heard her say is, "Don't go. I love you."
Okay, so he's sharing a little bit more about a conversation that they had. She talked a little bit about this too, is after she had moved out, but before he went to that trip to Japan. And now we're starting to see not holes in her story, but I feel like things that she was purposely leaving out. Because in her video, she was making it very clear to us viewers that she was totally done with him, that she had moved out and they were broken up and that was the end of it. Listening to Miz though, seems like they got back together on and off a few times. And in one of these instances, they even wrote these letters to each other about what they want from this relationship. And everything that he is saying sounds like a person who still wants to work on things, right? And I can see it from both perspectives, right? In a best case scenario, this is a toxic relationship between two people who are emotionally immature and going through a lot of their own trauma, and one of these people in a full mental health crisis. And when you get stuck in that toxicity, it's addictive and it's hard to break out of it. So I can understand from that perspective, even though she had moved out of the house, because they still had to work together and they're still in the same org and they're seeing each other, and she still had love for him, that she wanted to make this work maybe one more time. And he did the right thing, giving this relationship another chance and by going to Japan. And though it seems like later on he regrets that, I think later on down the line as he gets better, he will see that that actually was the right decision, because neither one of them should have been in a relationship, and especially with each other. And even in the worst case scenario, when you're with an abuser, it's still very difficult to unlove your abuser and not want to be with them. And that's something that isn't talked about enough, because victims feel so much shame. How can you love this person that is abusing you and treating you so badly? And it just goes back to what I was talking about earlier about those building blocks, right? So even in that sense, I will give her the grace, because even in my own abusive relationship, I went back to him. He begged me to come back and I willingly went back, knowing that he was abusive, but I wanted to believe in him so badly. So I can understand from that side of it too. So again, I'm not victim blaming, but we get more of insight of what's going on by hearing Miz's side.
I did see her at a party once at Simply's house. The house was very small, and I opened the door, I said whoops, and proceeded to talk in the other room about what I possibly did wrong, and began to bawl out and be depressed because I just saw my ex-girlfriend. I want to make it very clear. I was not following her, nor lingering around her. I was with others the entire night. The house is about 2,000 square feet with about 50 people there. I, of course, was near her, but I was never following her. This year...
All right, so he talks a little bit of that house party, and he admits that he was not trying to follow her around, that it was a small home, so there was no way to really avoid each other, right? And she even admits that though she felt unsafe, she couldn't say for certain that it was because of him necessarily intentionally trying to make her feel unsafe, like following her around and stuff like that. And here he's saying that he didn't, and it was an accident. He walked into the room, was shocked to see her there, didn't know how to react, and walked out, and then proceeded to talk about her the rest of the night because he was so super embarrassed by it. That is nothing crazy. And I, based on what she said and now him explaining it a little bit further, I'm inclined to believe that this was just an awkward moment between two exes. All right, so I just want to take a moment here to kind of wrap up my thoughts on Miz's video. I think getting his side of the story kind of gives us a little bit more perspective on what was going on, especially coming from his side of it. And for the most part, both of their stories pretty much align correctly. I will say that he does kind of go into a little bit more about his mental health crisis that I think is a reason for a lot of this immature bad behavior. And it does seem like from the video that he is acknowledging that these were bad behaviors and that he's not proud of them and that he's been working on it and getting help, which is all super important and positive, because either way, whether you see him as a toxic boyfriend or an abuser, those people need to get mental health help, okay? And listening to his side of it, he definitely pushed a lot of gray areas when it comes to his mental health, and probably at the time excused a lot of his bad behaviors because of stress and mental health. But it does seem like at the very least right now he is trying to acknowledge that and move forward for himself. What I don't appreciate is the few times in the story caught him embellishing. Like, that's not necessary. Like, just tell the story how it is, because when you embellish like that, now it puts all of your response in jeopardy. Now others are going to feel like, oh, well, if he's embellishing about that, then he must be embellishing about everything else. And that was just a dumb look. All right, so kind of to wrap up the whole thing, after listening to both sides of the story, I can say that from a mental health expert perspective, as a person who has also gone through DV and SA, at best case scenario, these were two people that were not emotionally mature enough to handle the dynamics of a relationship that is intertwined with your personal life and your business life. They were also both two people not mature enough to handle a power dynamic in the relationship. It seems like they both had overreactions to things and didn't properly express and communicate their stressors. When it comes to Emily, this is a person that is very introverted, keeps a small circle of friends, doesn't socialize a lot. He is the complete opposite. He is more extroverted, likes to have lots of friends, lots of parties. That can clash as well. With her especially having to deal with all the stalkers, that is gotta be taking a toll on her mentally, physically, and emotionally. And because of that, she now has this fear of men. Then with Miz, he deals with his own mental health issues. Like he said, he has depression and anxiety. And if you know someone who is truly going through depression, based on what both of them had to say, he exhibited a lot of the behaviors of a person that has depression that is also in crisis. That doesn't excuse any of his behavior, but it gives us an understanding of why he was behaving like this at the time. And they were both just toxic for each other. At the worst case, she is a victim of abuse, and he is an abuser and a manipulator. I know it's not going to be the most popular opinion, but it does feel like some of the stories, she exaggerated the trauma. Now, I'm not saying she did that purposefully. I'm not saying she did it manipulatively, but she did it. As a person who is recovered from DV and SA, she exhibited a lot of that behavior in her speech, talking about how Miz was throwing the phone at her. His stupid excuse of, oh, I was just tossing it on the bed or whatever. No, that's a full out lie. He probably did throw the phone in her direction or somewhere in the vicinity of her direction, and that made her feel violated. In other instances too, where she calls him her stalker ex, and with reason, of course, the 40 messages after they'd gone months without speaking was definitely overkill. But I think because of the world she lives in dealing with actual stalkers, she can convolute things and also exaggerate things in her feelings. Like, she even admitted at the one party where she saw Miz, she felt unsafe by his presence. So obviously these are still unresolved issues for her, and some of them are still current issues, and I hope that she can deal with that and is able to move forward in her life, because living in that type of fear, it's not a good thing. It's not a good place to be in. For Miz, we kind of already went over his mental health stuff, so I don't think there's much left to be said. I'm really trying here to be the middle ground perspective. Emiru is a very beloved figure online, and I think that people will automatically just jump to her defense. There's also the psychology of first story, first believed. With Miz, unfortunately, he doesn't have as much love from the internet, though he does have a very strong, loyal fan base. But the rest of the internet absolutely hates him, and some with reason. I would say most with reason. Maybe not to the full extent that everybody dislikes him, but the core reasons why are valid, right? So people are not going to want to give him grace. And our society loves to talk about how we need to help people with mental health problems. We need to give them all these services, and we got to show all this compassion. But yet when a person is going through a mental health crisis, depending on their gender, depending on their ideology, depending on their religion, is how people are going to react to it. And that's unacceptable. If we're going to be a society that is promoting positive mental health, then that needs to go across to everybody. And I think that this is an example of where a person with mental health issues will not get the grace because he's a man. And it seems like when it comes to the gender stuff, only women are allowed to have a mental health crisis. And when it comes to Bunnygate, I'd like to hear Emiru's explanation of it and see what she has to say. According to Miz, this is a video that his brother took. It's a very close-up video. You can't see her room or anything, so you can't definitively say that we know for a fact that that was her room in her cage. If there's more videos out there, one that shows that it is her actual room, then we can talk more about that, I suppose. But I am curious to hear what she has to say about now that he said it, because she did say initially that he threatened to say that she killed her animals if she came out and spoke about him. Now he gave us more context on what exactly it was that he was going to be exposing. So I'd like to hear her say something back about that. Did she really leave those 7 bunnies in the cage like that without cleaning them out? Did she really throw them out outside with no food and water? You know, I'm curious. And also, there's, 5 other people who lived in that house? So, hey, why won't you come up and say something one way or the other? All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's reaction. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I did. If you did, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and drop a comment below with your thoughts. What do you think of the video? Did you agree with my reactions or did I miss something? I'd love to know. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a reaction. Bye guys.